From making ski videos in Ohio to now working with some of the top brands in the world, Kyle Decker's story is truly inspirational, and I hope all of you guys enjoy this interview. I'll be sure to drop some timestamps below if you want to jump around the video, but without further ado, let's dive right into it. Yes, Kyle, we've been going back and forth for like a year. So for my viewers that don't know, I kind of have met Kyle through some mutual friends since I kind of, lived in Ohio, Cuyahoga Falls, and skied Boston Mills Brandywine. So kind of through the grapevine, I've heard of Kyle and his work. And then obviously through the ski industry, I've been, heard of Kyle and his work as well. But it was really funny because we've been kind of going back and forth about doing an interview and kind of meeting for, probably like a year and a half now at this point. I think it's just really cool that you have roots in Ohio. So let's just start there at the very beginning. So like, take me back. It's probably like early 2000s, and you and a bunch of buddies are messing around at, I'm assuming Boston Mills or Brandywine at that particular time, and take me there. I mean, paint that picture for me.
Yeah. So, grew up in Elyria. It was like a 40 minute drive to Boston Mills Brandywine, which is 240. I'm going to get the number wrong, but everyone fights over that extra foot or two, depending on snowpack. But yeah, my brother and I used to ski there all the time. And, we slowly started to meet who are still some of our best friends there. And initially it started in there was a mogul crew, and it was kind of Ohio Freestyle evolved from that. And then it transitioned a little. I remember around that time I saw my first, it was called like a D-Spin 7 at the time, but I saw this guy, Mike Sarconi, do a D-Spin 7 off this like real ghetto cheese wedge off of North Bowl North Bowl into Peter's Pride.
Yep.
And then, and I was like, holy shit. He went so deep, but I bet him if I went back, it was probably went 15 feet. But that was like, okay, there's like something going on. That was probably like 2000 maybe. And I went up to college I went to Colorado Mountain College freshman year.
Okay.
That was in Steamboat, and moved back because my brother, who I skied a lot with, met this guy, Justin Turman, that was like really egging me on, like, let's ski together. I ended up going back to Kent State, going to college in Ohio, and moved in with Justin. And we had this apartment in Kent, and just started to really quickly build our relationship with all the local friends and create Ohio Freestyle. And it was just like a crew of friends filming skiing, and that developed into kind of passing the camera around. And I got annoyed because I was editing it that I didn't have any good footage to work with, because it's just a bunch of buddies waiting for their turn to ride or ski. So eventually I started filming more, and but it was mostly at Boston Mills Brandywine the first year. And then we found out about snow trails, that changed kind of everything for Ohio skiing at the time, because it was a new place. It was fresh to us, but they were super welcoming. I mean, the history. I've seen you've done some shows on snow trails, but the Chrislip family and they really didn't say no to much we did.
Because you guys had a helicopter at one point, didn't you, for one of the shoots? Yeah.
So the head park builder, Chris Westover, was just like, let's build anything. And the management was all about it. And it was just like this fun party. It was crazy. Like, we had a real awesome scene. Everyone knew everyone, and everyone came to hang out, and it was cool. But the helicopter, Brad Dingus knew a buddy that he paid for gas. And we brought this little helicopter around. And now that I look at it and know a little bit more about what ski resorts do in terms of insurance and risk management and everything, like, it was just super loose. Like, if you see some of the shots are like flying through the trees, like I could have clipped. I was in it.
Anything.
The year of Witness, I was in it, and I was like, this is kind of sketchy, but the guy was really good pilot, and it was sweet. We got some heli shots. We had to tow into the jump with a snowmobile because couldn't get enough speed. But that was kind of the glory days of growing up and skiing Ohio to me. Like, I have so much history at Boston Mills Brandywine, but I'd say like the deep passion and kind of evolution of filmmaking came at snow trails, because there was something going on. It was fun to film and document your friends. And now I have got documented history that someday I can go back and watch some of these tapes.
Yeah, I mean, like it's crazy because you go to snow trails and like everybody knows your name, and just like that's the stories. It's almost like folklore when you go there. It's like, yeah,
Sweet.
man, they used to build these massive jumps, and they had this guy with a helicopter, and it's great to see that. Now, this is probably like early 2000s. You're producing these videos. I mean, we'll call them like home videos. They're step up from that, obviously, but and you're premiering them, right?
Yeah. So I don't even know where I got. Yeah, we were premiering them. We did them in Kent. We did Re-Edit, Reaction, and then Witness was our third one. We premiered them in Kent. Did gear giveaway, and we got sponsors. But at the end of the day, like I think the sponsors were just giving us swag to throw away. I don't know if anyone ever like cut us a check. I actually just randomly before this podcast, I had a folder I was looking through some old Ohio freestyle stuff, but I found like for Reaction a proposal I sent to Monster Energy to sponsor the film. But I'm like reading it, I'm like, you had no idea what you're doing. Like I was like asking for product, and it's like I like loosely asked if we could get money, but the way I asked, I would never actually get it. So it was a lot of learning and through all this very, very loosely, but started to like get a hankering or understanding like the back end or the business side of filming. And that was kind of like an unofficial film school to, progress into other things down the road, but, just general deliveries and trying to link up with sponsors and organizing premieres and marketing the movie and going into ski shops and getting the ski shops to sell the movie. Cause now like you can distribute a movie online, but I would go to the local Ohio shops and like had a little like pitch deck and would be like, hey, check this out. And, the breakdowns of the movie weren't even like profitable, but it was like just fun that like, for me, it was cool just to like get more eyes on the film to like grow that culture in Ohio. Cause it was like really limited. The park skiing in Ohio is about as niche as you could get. But the community we had was awesome. And it was, still all those guys are some of my best friends.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just kind of to paint the picture of what this kind of stuff looked like back then in the early 2000s, I was into film a little bit, but it was much different, right? Nothing was really truly digital. It was a lot of like converting it to digital or like editing it everything took 20 times longer than it does today. So kind of explain the equipment a little bit, what that looked like and what your process looked like.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of tapes in the closet back here, but so you shoot on mini DV tapes and then you have to like hook it up to a computer with a FireWire cable and go through this archaic way of like in out points, and then you label the clip. And it's just like, it was so time consuming. And I remember the first time I had a video camera that like you took a card and you put it in your computer and you're like, whoa, all the work's done. Like here's all the clips, It was a total headache, but the process is drastically different now. And
then you get in touch with Little Mountain Limited, which is a little shop located, is that in Cleveland area or is that down in Columbus?
Yeah, it's in Mentor.
They were looking to do like a movie premiere along with you. They wanted to bring in Josh, right? Is that what happened with that particular instance? Or
and the Little Mountain Limited, it's actually I have history for me because that's always been my local ski shop. But my dad back in the 70s was a ski bum with his good friend Greg McGuire, who's the owner of Little Mountain Limited. Okay. So they were buddies. So like he's always kind of been this like uncle kind of, I don't even like, just a family friend. And so I've always been involved with him. And once I started doing this, it was like he was probably my first like sponsor, and I kind of reached out to him and wanted to get him involved in the premieres. And he just was like, what movie do you want to premiere with? And I mentioned Level 1, and he randomly called Level 1 offices when Josh's sister was running the tour. And, at the time, Level 1 wasn't that big. And Josh was like, oh my God, like somebody would fly me out to Ohio to a premiere, like I'll go. And first time I met Josh Berman was, that would have been the Reaction movie.
Okay.
Picked him up in my car. All of us had Ohio Freestyle. I had a couple buddies with me, like picking up Josh Berman. This is awesome. Had our hoodies on, and he was like, "What's going on?" But we had a blast. Had a good premiere, and then he had. We showed him some good times in Kent, and kind of had that relationship and mentor in my back pocket to kind of like lean on or kind of like figure out the ropes of what could become. Or, I had a lot of questions for him, and hopefully I didn't annoy him too much.
Did you have in your mind that like you wanted to work for Level One when you guys had that first interaction during that, or did that even have crossed your mind at that point?
Yeah, it was like a dream, but I didn't know that was like possible, because at the time I was going to school in Kent. It was just like, I didn't know that was a career or like, and I think at the time I had so much pride in our crew and what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when I transitioned out of it, it was like hard for me to like, you almost feel like you're selling out on what you worked so hard at creating, but it also, you need that evolution of like, what's next. So yeah, I think I had just so much pride in like not dissolving Ohio Freestyle.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I went on and moved out west and did other things. So it kind of took a back seat.
So yeah, and then just shortly after that too, you worked with Mike Hornbeck, and you guys produced a video or a film that went on to then beat Level One out in Mammoth.
Yeah, Hornbeck shot with us in Witness, and probably was the reason, probably put that movie on the map more than anything else. Terman reached out to him because we had a trip out to Utah and said, "Hey, we're from the Midwest too. You want to ski together? You want to film with us?" So we went out to Utah and filmed with him, and that just started some things but like him and I hit it off right away. Like, he still is one of my best friends, and you have to have him on this podcast, because he is like probably like the Midwest like best. He still came back to the Midwest and is still crushing in the Midwest, but he's like the Midwest best like representation of like hard work style, good skiing. But anyways, yeah, started filming with him, and kind of never stopped.
So you guys go out there, you win this contest, and come on, you go out to a video contest, and your video takes top dog, and against some of these big guys, you got to start thinking like, okay, like I can play, like let's get in there. Is that what was running through your mind at that particular moment?
Yeah, the Raj Masters video contest was like I remember watching like the old Level 1 ones, and just like there was a big like deal, and I think we put so much effort into it, because Mike was like the new guy and I was the new guy, that like you take that type of like rookie drive, and you can you can kind of we were so into it. And also when we won, it was a big moment for me, especially as a filmmaker, to be like, wow, I'm like, the fact that I'm even on the same playing fields, or able to submit a contest with the other people that were bigger names in the industry. So that was that was really cool. And shortly after, Berman offered me an internship with Level One. So it's like, of course I'll take an unpaid internship. I stayed at his house in Denver. He had a room for me. Editing was right next to the bed, and I got to edit Witness there, which was nice because I like bounced some ideas off of him. Okay. But also I was I don't even think I touched.
I think it was long story short was that it was the movie at that particular time.
I think he let the intern edit the credits, which is a big deal for me, but I did all the bonus features, and like he kind of let me be the bonus feature guy. So like made a bunch of bonus features for him. And then the next season I actually worked for Rage Films, because I don't think Berman was ready to have another employee, or I don't know if he ready to like join the like, it's a big transition to like the backcountry experience and going on bigger trips. But so I worked for Rage Films with Dan Narcotis, kind of brought in, worked with Ahmet Dadali and Mike Hornbeck, and Wiley Miller was working there. So I had like my core group there, and we really all were rookies trying to make a name for ourselves, and worked super hard, and eventually worked for Level One the following year, and then worked there for till 2013.
And during that time, you kind of progressed along, and then in 2012, Berman kind of handed you the ropes a little bit for Sunny, right? He's like, you were co-producing that one.
Yeah, co-directing, which was
co-directing,
huge. Yeah. And I'm lucky that was a year, because for me, that was one of Level One's my favorite films. Like everything just kind of came together, and all, a lot of the core people of Level One really shined that year. I think like Mike Hornbeck had opening segment, which is like, talk about a Midwest guy making it, is like, not only is he filming with Level One, but he had an opening segment, and I had traveled with him a ton that year. So it was just like, it was just fun. It was an awesome year, and so many good things were happening. And it was like, you look back and you look at the roster of who was skiing in front of the camera at the time, and it was pretty incredible to work with a lot of those guys.
And then something really interesting happens around that same time frame. You meet Tom Wallisch and talk about where that headed and how that kind of changed the outlook for both, honestly, for both of you guys as you guys worked on that brand new project.
Yeah, so 2013, I've worked with Level One since 2006 or 7-ish, and loved everything about Level One, but I started to get an itch for something different. I think I saw Naja Houston release a video part called Rise and Shine, and it was like one athlete producing a segment, and I was like, wait, don't you need like a movie? Like, who's gonna watch this, right? And now we laugh about this mentality now, but like,
it didn't exist.
Nobody had done that at the time, and so we're like, and I was like, I always knew in the back of my head, like, maybe around 2013, Wallisch started to get good sponsors, but he kind of wasn't well supported financially until like around that time. And I always knew he would be the one that could do it. And it was always in the back of my head, like, shit, he's going to leave Level One. He's going to eventually like evolve out of Level One, but I like would love to keep working with him. And yeah, we were at a premiere in Salt Lake for Sunny and had a couple beers. And right before the bar closed, we were kind of joking, and I kind of slipped out. We started to talk that he was going to do it. And I said, I want to be the guy to do it. And obviously a lot of repercussions came from that, because I had to part ways with my family of Level One. And, Tom and I went off and ventured and did something on our own, which it was nice to lean on Berman, Friedel, or Shuey, or any of those guys just for creative support, or, hey, is this a good idea, bad idea? But it was awesome. I've never had such an influx of like passion. And I mean, like Naja video, for example, like I watched that I would watch that just to get fired up, and I'm like, okay, this is our moment. Like, we had good support. Tom Yaps was Wallisch's agent that produced the film, so he got all the sponsor money together. I didn't have to like track it all down. We had a fair budget, and it was like, we can comfortably like go do what we need to do. Whatever Tom needs to do, you can be there and film it. So that was like, it was pretty awesome, and we went all in. I don't think the only time I've ever gone so all in would be maybe his real ski, but yeah, there was just so much like energy about the project, and we released it, and panned out well. And kind of from there, I started, because I was no longer bound to like film projects. All of a sudden there was a couple options where, Dick's Sporting Goods and the North Face were doing a commercial kind of leading up to the Olympics. And that kind of transitioned me into doing more brand stuff, because they asked for the footage, and then I started to go back and forth with the production company that was doing it, and they had like some really, really whack ideas. And I kind of tipped off like, hey man, I told Wallisch, I just so you know, and then push come to shove, like North Face, really supported Tom and his ideas, and I came on as like overseeing and eventually directing this commercial, which was really fun, because it was all my footage and some X Games footage, and just like making this commercial. And then I kind of just started to do a lot more of that within ski brands, or like slightly attached ski brands since, and it kind of started to transition the way out of skiing in a way, but also like, I don't say that in a bad way, but it gives you something to do in the summer.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, you write that story off like it's like no big deal, but it's like, so you're working with Tom, and then all of a sudden, like, North Face is on the horn, and they're like, hey, let's do some work. I mean, that's a huge transition. Yeah,
so many of his brands needed content. And then that was also the one year where we realized that up until any point, like if somebody needed footage of somebody that shot with MSP, you have to go talk to MSP about that. But Tom Yaps, who oversaw this project, was Tom's agent. Tom's interests were aligned with everyone's, and we're coming into an Olympic year, and we all of a sudden we own all this footage, and everyone wants it. And it's like, you don't have to pay for this. Here you go. You sponsor the movie, you get all of this. Or NBC. I mean, there was like times where I was NBC, ABC, any news outlet is like doing a story on Tom, and it's like,
they need,
holy shit, there's free footage, and we're just like, floodgates are open. And it like really, it may sound simple now, but it really redefined the model of like ski films in the sense that it did kind of put a little bit more power into the skier, and not a lot of skiers might not have the support to build that structure. But like coming into Olympic year, I looking back was such a value and a smart move on Yaps's call to say, hey, let's own all this, and we want exposure. Like he doesn't care about, like, he wants to build Wallisch into this, you know, just evolve Wallisch as a brand, or Wallisch wants to do it. So it's like win-win for everyone. And it's like, it was such a cool wild ride. And that led into so many little side projects where you start to learn a little bit more, or you start to work your way out of skiing a little bit, because there's a brand that doesn't know anything about skiing. And all of a sudden you're the consultant or the guy, I don't know what the right word is, but like you're somebody who can like hold their hand and be like, that's whack. This is cool. Because skiing, as you know, like skiing's a sport where if Geico makes a commercial about skiing, if they don't know anything about skiing, like, you know how
it doesn't
ski audience is. Yeah, it has. So like I made a lot of my career in those days by just using the word authentic, and like I can like, you know, it's just like a buzzword to say on a call, but you really can keep Tom's brand image, everything authentic. Because if an outside brand, it's going to look whack. I mean, we've all seen it in so many sports where like a commercial happens and you have no idea who didn't say that was not a good idea.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a quick step back for my viewers and just say, so prior to like 2012-ish, like the way filming typically worked, you basically went and spent all season filming, okay, with a group of athletes, and then over the off season you would essentially assemble and edit this movie, which then would premiere in the fall, rinse and repeat. But it was very, basically it didn't exist. You didn't just like release midway through a season. You didn't release little 10-minute videos. You didn't do solo segments.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying is like, yeah, you filmed all year and you kind of didn't even like release little nuggets or teases of tricks, because it's all about the movie, and you get everyone together at a movie premiere, and it's the biggest party of the year. And then you do a couple, you know, a month of premiering, and then the movies would come out in October, and then it'd be a feeding frenzy of, oh my God. And it was all based around, you know, building up hype for next season. But now kids expect the best clips to be dropped on Instagram, and sometimes they are, but the model and structure is so much different. And whether you want to fight it or not, like I love the ski movie model, and it's how we both grew up, but it's
changed. It's changed.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, it's definitely different. Yeah, so then you start working with, I mean, gosh, you're working with so many brands now. You got Visa and Land Rover and I don't know, Harley Davidson. I mean, like, so how has that like transition been from going from, and you've never been to film school, correct?
No.
Skiing was your film school.
Yeah, skiing kind of was the unofficial film school. And through all these little experiences, you learn, like, there's so many times that I had no idea what I was talking about. Like, you know, I'd shoot a piece for North Face, and they would ask me on the, you know, they would, in these emails, they'd be like, I need this. And I'd be like, I have no idea what that is, but I'd Google it. Or I'd call like, you know, people that I, you know, look up to. I'm like, okay, what's this? Like, I would spend so much time just trying to act like I knew what I was talking about. And you slowly learn through mistakes of or fear, and kind of learn what you need to learn. And yeah, skiing has, because of, you know, Tom, or then we did Good Company, and then working with, you know, I did a lot with X Games or US Team, and we did a lot of branded content for both of those. And I mean, X Games is owned by Disney, so you just learn the more of the corporate side of things, and it's really sometimes you get frustrated, sometimes you don't, but it's like, that's how the real world works. And it was nice to get that experience while also getting the ski experience. So it's like a weird mesh of authentic, commercial, I mean, a little bit of everything. And that kind of just all came from the involvement of what I was doing on that year for film projects.
I mean, like, how has that transition been going from, because obviously you filmed skiing because you enjoyed skiing. Do you still find that same joy as you work on these new projects? I mean, how has that experience been?
Well, that was kind of like a little crisis. I was wondering how it was going to be, but I started to like, I was doing this, I did a bunch of jobs for a company out of Salt Lake called Ragnar Relays, and they're like running relays, and like something no passion for, like, I was just like, it was a great job, but at the end of the day, it's the same formula, right? Like, it's like you're shooting action, compiling action, B-roll, making this banger edit that grabs people's attention to make somebody excited. So you're showing all these people running, and I found when I started to do that, I'm like, I would never be part of this culture, but like, I realize it's a filming you're passionate about. And I always say, like, I'm trying to find something on my desk, but like, here's a fork, and like, I could somehow be excited to make an edit about a fork, and like, I think the skiing was the passion, and then it transitioned into filming, but it's like, it's just fun to, like, there's so many challenges in filming, and you realize it's not the skiing, or like, it's not action sports. And obviously, like, I still need, and that's why I still do, build that stuff into my season. I still need that to, like, keep the soul, like, that's always a part of me, but I don't need to do it all the time. But just knowing that you can film anything and it'll be exciting. At the end of the day, any brand, the fork company or whatever, you're trying to build excitement about a product. So that it's kind of the same formula, right? In a way.
For sure. To be honest, I would like to see a fork video. I'm kind of like,
I don't know. That might be a stretch. You might have to have other things to put. Yeah.
So let's take a step back, go back into the ski world here. Describe to me, how the filming process works, from step one to finished product.
Yeah, essentially it starts with the core of what a ski film is your skiers, and then it kind of I guess you want to have them involved in your project, and most of the time you have to have a really good relationship and trust, because you got to trust them, and they for sure have to trust you that you're not going to mess up these tricks that they might never get again. But then it works out to, like, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, well, I need to somehow be able to afford to travel and do all this. So then you'll reach out to the sponsors, which for the past like 10 years of projects Tom Yaps has been doing that, which has been great. But yeah, you establish your budget and you kind of go off and shoot. And there isn't like a plan. Like, it's not like I have a calendar on the wall. It's like, this is when I'm going here, here, here. It's always like, seat of your pants, like, holy shit, it's snowing in Minnesota, we gotta go now. And it's like, and though it's always the first trip of the year, you're texting and it's like, okay, it's game time, because there's so much anticipation and everyone's expectations are super high and there's so much energy, and then you, of course, when you drive to Minnesota, it's like a 12-15 hour drive. So if from like driving from Colorado to Minnesota, which might be hilarious to some of your viewers, but they have some of the best handrails in the world, and you go shoot handrails early, and then as the snowpack starts to build in January, then you start to work your way into the backcountry, and then by February it's backcountry only, and then you start to get into park season in April, and do some like post-production or post-season park shoots are closed, and that's like such a blast. You have everyone together. It's kind of like a cookout party scene, and then you get back and you spend a couple weeks or a month labeling footage, trying to like get a handle on what you have. And then you talk to the people you work with and you figure out, like, based on what you have, like what you're going to build out. Like, that, Ahmet Dadali's got a fire part, or, this person, or you might have a travel segment, but like those aren't planned ahead of time. Like, you might have a dream. I'd say there's probably 2 dream trips. It's like, we're going to go to Japan or we're going to go to Alaska. There's those, like, but other than that, everything outside of that is like,
just piecing it together.
Follow the snow. And at the end of the day, you only have so many days a year to like get shots. And then you're driven by the other film companies, because like, oh damn, what's Poor Boys or what's Step doing? Or like, so, and it all drives everyone to like step up their game. Like, no one is chilling. Like, it is just go, 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 go. And as a filmer, it's fun, but it can be exhausting, because you're like, it's usually like a 10-day trip. You'll be working with like these like top tier riders, and they're fried by the end of the trip, and a new crew cycles in and you go somewhere else. But it's like, I didn't get like a like time off, so you're like kind of just like smoked, but you're like feeding off the energy, because then all of a sudden the new crew that comes in is like, oh my
fresh.
God, I gotta get this, like, and it's like kind of builds you up, and then you fade with the next crew, and then it just kind of keeps going, and you just yeah, I look back and it was like pretty insane, like however many years go at like traveling the world with your friends
Yeah.
and doing fun things. And I owe everything to like Ohio roots and my friends that like we started passing cameras around. And honestly, I thought I was going to school for marketing and I thought I was going to like have some job, or I don't know what I would be doing, but just kind of happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Ohio born and raised. I mean, how does that, I mean, your parents, you still have family back in Elyria?
Yeah, most of my family is back home. And I think one thing I could probably mention that really changed a lot of this is the year between reaction and witness. My dad had passed away.
Okay.
And so like making ski films was like such an escape of like, I don't know, I just had like my community or like friends. And I kind of like just like it re-evaluated like I don't think I would have taken the risk of taking the internship with Level One or anything, but it's like here's like one of the worst things that could ever happen to you, and it like turned into a positive thing where like what's the worst thing that could happen? Like this is what I want to do, and like this is what makes me happy. And I wasn't even like thinking about money or a career. I was just like, if I can get by and literally like break even and make ski films, like that's a dream. And like I was also younger, in my 20s, and it's like what's the downside to like taking a chance? And I look back now and like, I mean, my life I wouldn't have any of the same friends other than like, my core Ohio friends. And then like I met my wife through Wallisch's now wife stuff. Like there's just so many, now we have kids and there's so many like little things that trickle down to like just taking like a chance. And that was like one thing I'm stern on is like, if you're passionate about something and you work super hard, like you can't, you're not going to fail at what you're trying. Why not chase it?
So, I mean, what would you suggest to somebody that wants to do what you do for a living? I mean, where do they start? What do they need to do? And how do they get to the level that you're at now?
Yeah, I've actually get to ask this question by kids, and it's like, you don't get there. Like you have to just go out and film with your friends and like make cool content. Like there isn't like a path or a form. Just like work super hard at what you like doing and like keep evolving that. And like it ends up, I mean, I'm sure in your career, there's a couple moments that like weren't planned, but they end up like taking you here. And then it's like that slow process of like, evolution, but it's just like working super hard and taking risks and meeting people and, those scary, like reaching out to sponsors. Like I still don't like reaching out to like companies to like get a job, but it's like, that's what you need to do. So like step outside your comfort zone, but like really just have a goal and do whatever you can to like chase after it. But there's really no like downside, especially if you're young. There's no downside to failure is good. And why not fail at like something you want to do than failing at something that like you're told to do because that's like what you're supposed to go to school and be a doctor or something. Like why not like chase whatever you want to do? I think so many people set a goal so high up here, but it's like just that goal of like slowly getting better and keeping yourself in check that you're like, you're doing a better job or you're working harder than you could, like just putting your all into it. And it's like anything, you're going to be eventually get better at it. Like I can't see if you have one or not, but if there's a garden back there, it's like, gardening, like no one starts out a good gardener, but like you just keep practicing and eventually you're good at it. It's everything in life.
So what's your favorite film or segment that you've ever been a part of, either producing, filming, or editing?
I'm looking on the wall because my aunt has given me these cool like these DVD frames. I have them like lined up around the room, but I don't know. It's like you could say the Ohio films but also like Sunny was really special. Refresh was really special because it had that Warren Miller twist on it. So, but yeah, filming with like the, Delorme, Wallisch, Hornbeck, Matt, but just being able to work with these people and it's like memories I'll never be able to forget. And like, meeting Warren Miller we did a Refresh premiere in Seattle and he drove down with his wife. And
oh my gosh.
Like, I'm like, dude,
that's like life-changing. That's so
cool.
To
a movie premiere that we like did and he's voiced, but it was just like so special. And it's crazy because we're like, it's just like, how the hell was that an option when I was like a kid. Like I would have been so excited. But it's crazy. Like I'm backstage, or that sounds cool, but like before the premiere, he's like in the green room because he's like just chilling. He's not trying to hang out with like a bunch of 18-year-old party kids. And he's like, of course, we're like, it's me, Berman, the level 1 crew. And just like talking to him, and it's just like hearing that voice is like, holy shit. Like he was telling me that his wife had a chicken salad sandwich at the gas station and her stomach isn't feeling that good. But I'm like, when somebody says it in a Warren Miller voice, I'm like, I made a film right now. Like, you know, like he could be like, I picked up a coin off the ground. And it's like, it sounds like, it's just like, it's the voice of skiing. So it was like having opportunities to like brush shoulders with, I mean, all the heroes. I guess I didn't answer the question, give you one athlete, but like, dude, Tanner Hall, Pat Fujas, like,
yep.
I've fucking worked with those guys. And like, if the dude that made these Ohio films, like, I mean, I was on a heli trip with like Pep, Seth Morrison, and Andy Mayer, and I'm like, I was just looking around the whole time, and I'm like,
how did I get here?
It's just like, you know, like I love working with Tanner, and I love how passionate he is about skiing, just like being around all these people, Johnny Cesare, and it's just like, it's just still fucking weird that like those are the people you grew up like idolizing, and like now that, you know, you're just like, and you're all the same. It's just, you know, like, yep. You can be like, you're just as passionate about skiing as those guys are. So like you meet them, you know, it's just like, it's what's so cool is this community of people, this traveling circus of people that just go from place to place to place. And it's like that's what makes it like, that kind of answers, like there isn't like a film, but just like being allowed to be part of that community and like and just work and travel is like, yeah, something I can't even describe.
Now, like, I'd imagine you get to know them like on such a sort of personal level. I mean, you're spending so much time with these guys, right? Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, you have to just, I mean, you got a 15-hour car ride. You got to talk about something, right?
The car rides especially, you're like, you know, like, I think about like how much time me and Wallisch or me and Hornbeck spend in the car. Like, I know everything about those guys, like, like to another level, like, and you spend so much time, and it's like, what are we gonna, you know, you just kind of like talk, and that's what's so cool. And you're also like in these, in a good relationship, there's a lot of lows and highs, but like you're with somebody when they, like, I haven't been around that much of it, but like you're with somebody when they blow their knee and don't know if like it's all over, or you're with somebody when they fucking win X Games, or it's just like there's so many highs and lows. Yeah, it just builds a strong relationship that like never. And they're with me when I'm like, obviously when they get the trick, I'm sure it's a feeling that I can't describe, but like you're standing next to them with the camera or following next to them with the camera, and you're getting what they say is clip high, but like you get like a buzz off of getting clips, and you want more and more and more, and you become an addict just like the skier. And that's, yeah.
Have you ever filmed an athlete doing something that you thought or kind of knew deep down is so dangerous that there could be potential severe injury or possibly even death? And like, how, if you did, how does that feel? Like, I mean, that's emotionally, like, just to me, that would be like absolutely crazy to know that like somebody, they fall off this cliff or do this wrong, like there could be a lot of consequences to that. Have you ever been in that situation? That
comes down to trust, and like I know, and I'm very sensitive as a filmer to watch how I push an athlete, but whatever you're shooting always needs to be their idea, and like I don't put ideas into their heads. So if they are in a scenario, you know, any of these things they're doing are high risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're trusting them that they're comfortable. You know, there's usually 3 riders, and I kind of let them collectively, because they have conversations about it. So I think like that's kind of for the riders. Like I try to keep some kind of a boundary there, because obviously if you're a filmer and you see this with up and comers, they are like, oh, this is like the dude that films for level 1. Like I got to do crazy shit. And it's like, you have to let them know, like, you just do what you do. Doesn't matter. You're a good skier. But there has been situations, sorry, Tim McChesney, but like, you know, Tim McChesney is a super hardworking guy, and he wanted this trick, a lip 450, and we were in Boston, but it was like he hit his head and got a bad concussion. It was like, you know, he's just not fully there. And we're like, AJ and I, the other filmer, like, you're docked. He was so pissed, but nobody in the crew would let them ski for like, you know, I don't remember, or maybe he went home, but like, yeah, he like still wanted to like do stuff. And that is where I think responsibility is in the filmer's hands. If they like, there's a head injury, and granted, thankfully nothing's ever, you know, I've never been around any like major injury or major avalanche, but it's also good to keep that like boundaries, because like if you sent that skier off a cliff, or you're like, dude, you got to get this fucking clip, like this is your closing shot, like, and that skier like gets hurt or die, like that's on,
it falls on you. Yeah.
So like that, as a filmer, you like, you obviously you get you get excited if they get a certain trick but they have to want it, and it has to be their idea. So so that's like a weird dynamic, and that's super important to like, some of these like higher end skiers just know how to fall well, and that allows them to like get better because they know their comfort level. So that's a long answer to a simple question.
No, it's true though, because I mean, as somebody behind the camera, I mean, camera has a lot of power. I mean, you and I both know that. So it puts you in a position that, yeah, like if you're spot on, man, like you could find responsibility through some of that, and that's makes it tough, especially when you're working with athletes that are doing some of the stuff that you're filming.
Yeah, and these guys aren't doing it for me or you as the cameraman. Like, they're going to the viewers that watch ski films, and that's what they're, when they see the camera, they're like, I want to like make these, I want to be at a premiere. You know, they always talk about it, like they get a sick trick and they're like, oh, I can't wait, like at a premiere, and like, you know, it's just like you're building up this like segment that expresses your skiing for that year, and that little bit extra makes it that much better. So they want that little bit extra.
Who's your favorite pro athlete that you've worked with?
I mean, I might just say Wallisch because it's an easy answer, and the one I've worked with the most, and I have so much too. But you know, it's interesting because like regardless of the sport, it's a lot of the same personalities or industry. I'm impressed with a lot of, you know, I've worked with like Michaela Schifrin is like a super, I've done some stuff with her in the US team or in Visa, super professional, dialed, you know. But there's also, you familiar, this Eileen Gu, she won a bunch of events at X Games, but if you don't know the name now, you should definitely, because she's like super talented, super smart, intelligent. She's also a model. She's on the Chinese team. She's like the full, like she'll be pretty big at the next Olympics, but she is so well-spoken and like professional to work with. And she's 17. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, how? Like, you know, like she speaks to a camera better than like a 40-year-old. So there's so many different, once again, it's hard to pick one because there's so many little micro stories. Or
what's your favorite ski film that's not yours or you didn't have a part in?
1242.
I knew you were gonna answer that.
Yeah, I don't know, I thought of, that's got to be it. I mean, for anyone that hadn't seen that, I wish people could see that in the era of when that came out, because that
it was it has a different pull than watching it today.
It changed so much.
It's just everything. I mean, the equipment, everything is totally different now. Not to take anything away from any videos now, but yeah, I mean, that was just a different era of skiing back then. So I did take some questions from my viewers that I'll kind of like go through. We'll just like answer these rapid fire style. Yeah. And then I have just a couple ones that I'll end with as well. So how do you get into a career filming skiing or snowboarding? We kind of touched on that already, but quick answer.
Start filming with your buddies. I don't care who it is, and just do it more and more. Everyone has an iPhone, and just keep doing it, and eventually you'll find yourself, or somebody will find you.
Can you do a re-release of Re-Edit?
Yeah, I mean, I just need to put it on the internet. I mean, I think I can give it to you if you want to.
Yeah, totally. I would love that. Yeah. This isn't even a question. This is just Utah trip with the OFS media crew building and hitting the pyramid gap. I don't know what that means or what that is, but
Oh yeah, we went out. It was like me, Terman Dingus, Mitch Durr, Nick Burquine, Darren Corelli. But yeah, we went out there and we're just like, oh, it's like the classic kid from Ohio. I was like, yeah, I heard about Pyramid Gap. Like we saw Chad. Obviously, we're not gonna hit Dad's Gap, but like we built Pyramid Gap and we built it like in the wrong spot. Like we didn't even build it right, but like we were all like messing around, hitting it, and like, dude, we were just getting owned. And Wiley Miller and Pete Prost, who's a I think Michigan guy, they were just like touring jumps in the area, and they're like, you know, I knew Wiley a little bit, and he's like, I was like, dude, you guys want to hit this? Like, and Pete Prost, like Midwest like legend, he doesn't have goggles on. He's got 2 different pairs of skis and goes and like does a couple tricks, and then Wiley ends up doing a 5 over it. That ends up like kind of starting to really solidify or make a name for himself. So it was like, but out of our crew, we like there was a lot of. No, I mean, we were way in over our heads for like, but it was nice to like have those guys come in and show us how it's done. I'd love to know who wrote that question.
how do you learn the best places to get great video? I don't know if they're talking about like shooting location or actual like the actual shot itself, like framing.
That one's, I mean, I think if they're asking like a how to, I mean, every time you don't know something, just look it up. Like, you know, like the amount of times. Like everyone at some point didn't know anything. So it's like, it's okay to like not know something. And it's okay to ask. Like up until I got older, like I didn't ask people questions because I was like, dude, they're going to know. I'm like, you know, like you don't know what like a 180-degree shutter is, which is like ends up being so important. Or you didn't know, like, I don't even know when I'm looking at these movies, when I started to like really strictly like follow some of these basic film rules. And it's like, just ask questions, and feel free to like hit me up on Instagram, and I'd be happy to answer questions because I owe a million questions for how many I asked.
Can you snowboard?
Yeah, I have a snowboard and do snowboard, but not. I'm like, you know, I'm like a blues kind of snowboarder, and I love it. It's fun to like, you know, when you first start snowboarding to get on a green, and it's like challenging, so it's fun.
What has been the most exciting experience filming for the X Games?
Probably working at the events. I mean, I worked with Henrik Harlow on his being piece, and then I was there next to him at the bottom of the big air, and just the energy that comes off that kid. Like I could walk into town and people around me could get high off that energy. Like he's just so positive, and like to like work with him on that piece, and then the story unfolds, and it just like it's just so much goddamn positive energy around something like that, and you're just sucked in like you can't even describe it. And it's like
Boston Mills or Brandywine?
I grew up at Boston Mills, but I don't know what the park's like at either these days, so I'll put Boston Mills because that was my roots.
Tiger or North Bowl moguls?
I mean, I'm getting too old to enjoy the moguls anymore, but I mean, Tiger just because it's so legendary, and then you can ski down to the bar.
I'm with you on that. I agree.
Yeah, it's got like the stadium vibe going on. Like people, you know, it's just legendary. So Tiger.
When are you coming back to Boston Mills or Snow Trails?
I don't know.
When are you coming back to Ohio?
Trails,
when are you going to come ski in Ohio?
I'm coming to Ohio next weekend, actually, for 2 days to hang with my family. But I talked about this to my wife yesterday randomly, that me and the Ohio crew always talked about doing a reunion. Yeah. Now we're like too old that it might not even. But doing a reunion at Snow Trails, or everyone going during Snow Trails Big Air and just like hanging out. I mean, we always talk about it, but it never happens. So we need like the Rauschenberger and Terman, and I think I can get Marky to come out.
That'd be fun, man. Like, let me know if you do, because I would happily meet you guys. That'd be really fun. I know the people would be excited.
That place is never not a good time.
Oh, it's always a good time. You can't not have fun at Snow Trails. It's
good people.
What advice would you give park rats working on their edits? How can they up their game?
Keep practicing. I don't know. It really depends on the edit, but be open to criticism. And I mean, just the more you edit, the more you like figure out your style. But it's like, bounce ideas off your friends and let them kind of give you advice, and don't be offended when you hear something you don't like, because that's how you grow.
Top 3 ways to be efficient in the streets.
Shooting at night, going to a different country where the police don't care is always much easier. That's the cheat. But shooting at night is efficient. Obviously being smart with your batteries, and I don't know what efficiency, like, is that like, if it's like in the context of like how many shots you get in a day, it's just like not letting if you go out with 3 riders, like this is, towards the end, it was like, okay, this is Hornbeck's feature, this is Wallisch's feature, this is Met's feature, and everyone works together because sometimes you'll override the other person's shot. So it's like Wallisch, Met and Hornbeck will help Wallisch shovel his feature, then it's Met's turn, those other 2, and it's like just teamwork, and then everyone else has their own like specific style.
Anything else you want to talk about real quick before we close this up?
Nothing specific. I mean, I appreciate you even considering to put me on here, and hopefully if people have gotten this far, I appreciate you guys listening. And if you're a filmer or skier from the Midwest, like, hit me up on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you, or like send me your edit. I'm stoked that you have built this, like, or you're maintaining this like Midwest community, because it's pretty awesome. But I probably ended on like, you need to hit up Mike Hornbeck and get him on, because I texted him today. I told him I was going to do it, and he said he's way down. So
yeah,
I'm throwing him under the bus, because you got to get him on, because
I'll totally get him
a great guy, and he'll have a lot to say about Michigan ski history.
Yeah, I'm all about that. So I'll grab his information from you. I'd love to do that. So, well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a busy schedule and a lot going on, but it's so cool to see your progression from Ohio, small town in Ohio, to now working with some of the top brands in the world almost. So super great talking with you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Huge thanks again to Kyle for taking the time to speak with me. And if you want to check out any of the full-length videos that were highlighted in this video, I'll be sure to drop some links below. But until next time, guys, have a great off season, pray for snow, and I'll see you guys out there.